Okay, so in this video, we're going to go over something called absolute value equations. And they're just a form of linear equations, but they don't concern, absolute values don't concern the direction, whether it's a positive or negative number. It's only concerned with the magnitude or the largeness of the number itself. So there are little things that you need to know in terms of solving absolute value equations. And I have two of them here, okay? So let me show you how these work. So you'll notice that absolute values use these symbols, okay, these straight lines that surround, okay, some terms. And this would be read as the absolute value of 3x minus 1 is equal to 2, okay? And the first thing that you need to know about solving absolute value problems is that you want to isolate the absolute value all by itself. Okay, you don't want anything on either side of it, like over here in this second example. You want to try to keep it clean, so it's just all by itself before you start solving it, okay? So even though absolute values are grouping symbols, right, you wouldn't like distribute like you would, like with, let's say, parentheses or something like that. Okay, so that's the first difference between absolute value signs and like parentheses and that sort of thing. Isolate the absolute value. So I'm just going to write that in here real quickly. Isolate the absolute value. Okay, now once you've isolated it, you want to recognize that, again, we're not concerned whether it's a positive or negative, right? We're just concerned with the largeness of the absolute value. And remember that the absolute value is just the distance from 0, okay? And remember that you have a positive distance and you have a negative distance. So because you have that, you need to take care of what's called the positive and negative case. So here's the positive case, and here's the negative case. The positive case would say 3x minus 1, because it's isolated, right, is equal to a positive whatever's on this side. So we have a 2. On this one, you would say 3x minus 1 would be equal to the negative whatever's on this side, and that would be the negative 2. And then you would solve these individually. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. 3x minus 1, I would add 1 to both sides, and then I would divide by 3. So x would be equal to 1 possibility. Now let's try this one. 3x minus 1 is equal to negative 2. Let's add 1 to both sides, and you'll get a positive negative 1 here. Let's divide by 3. X is equal to a negative 1/3. Now here's the important part too. You absolutely need to check both of these, all right, because both of them may not work. All right, so let me show you how that works. Let's put 1 into the original equation, okay? So I would have 3 times, and I'm just going to use a different color here to emphasize that I replaced the x with a 1. There we go. Minus 1, absolute value is equal to 2. So 3 times 1 is 3, minus 1 is 2. The absolute value of 2 is 2, so it actually does work. So this one actually works fine, okay? Let's try this one. I have the absolute value of 3 in parentheses. I'm going to put in a negative 1/3. I'm going to subtract 1. Absolute value is equal to 2 again. We're just checking. 3 times a negative 1/3 is a negative 1. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. But the absolute value of negative 2 is indeed 2, because it is still 2 away from 0. So this one actually works as well. Both answers work perfectly. Now, let's go over to this one. I'll show you again the difference. Remember I said that you need to clear everything away from the side of the absolute value, just like we have over here. So let's just do that. I'm going to add 1 first. So I get 2. Absolute value of x minus 3 is equal to 6. That's step 2. Step 3. I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and I'll get absolute value of x minus 3 is equal to 3. Now, I have a positive and negative case now. So the positive case would be, and the negative case would be, x minus 3 is equal to positive 3. Remember that the positive has to go over here, the positive negative cases. Or x minus 3 is equal to a negative 3. Solve those individually. Let's add 3 to both sides. You get x is equal to 6. Or you get, add 3 to this side, x is equal to 0. Let's plug those both in and see if they work, okay? So I'm going to get 2 times the absolute value of 6 minus 3 minus 1 is equal to 5. This is this first one. Let's see if that works. 6 minus 3 is 3. Absolute value of 3 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. Minus 1 is 5. And indeed, 5 is equal to 5. So we know that 6 works. Okay? Let's check this one over here. 2 times the absolute value of 0 minus 3 minus 1 is equal to 5. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3. So 2 minus 3 is again 6. Minus 1 is 5. And again, 5 is equal to 5. So 0 works as well. Okay? So in these examples, the thing you should have learned or taken away is, remember the absolute value is just the distance away from 0, okay? And that you need to isolate the absolute value all by itself, right? Get rid of all these extra things around there first. Do not distribute inside the absolute value, and then solve. And then finally, make sure that you check both answers and just plug them back in. Okay, I hope that was helpful.